Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. It is with great gratitude that I acknowledge Reverend Jeff Anderson, colleague, friend, classmate, and the senior minister of the Oakland Center for creating this opportunity for me to be with you this morning and to share words that I am trusting will inspire, uplift, and take us through these times of planetary change in a new light and in a new way. The subject for our talk this morning is UnWritten, and it is part of the monthly theme by our Centers for Spiritual Living, Bright Beginnings. So I want to paint a little context or give you a little backdrop for the talk this morning. Recognizing that we are co-creators in our life, and we're also co-creators of the drama, whether we buy into it or accept it or not. And I'll share with you a little bit later in the talk, a drama experience of my own, and just put a bookmark by chocolate-covered almonds. There's a story behind this. We feel comfort and assurance in remembering that daily we die to the old ways and the old experiences of life. And that each morning, each day that we awaken, we are given a new blank canvas to start that day with. And I don't know how you start your day, but I start my day each morning with just an expression of gratitude. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for life. Welcome the new day. And when I get out of bed and open the blinds of my bedroom window and look out at whatever the day is offering, I lift my hands skyward and I say, I am grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful. And sometimes I'm inspired by a song. This morning, I thought of a song of my youth that says, it's another day's journey, and I'm glad to be here. So however it is that you begin your day, begin it with the awareness that the future is unwritten. And wow, isn't that a truth for these times of uncertainty and planetary shift that we find ourselves in? And there's good news in this. This unwritten story that is emerging allows us to co-create whatever the new normal is going to appear as. From a science of mind point of view, we recognize that we have choice in everything that we do. Each moment of our continuing journey of change is an opportunity to make a new choice and to create a better or a different life. We have within us limitless potential and can bring to our experience anything that we can conceive. As we align our mind with unlimited possibilities of attainment and increase, we remember that we are not bound by our past. And I'll just say, thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, thank you, universe, that I am not bound by my past. We can break out of those past patterns and behaviors and consciously write the unwritten narrative of our lives. In our Science of Mind textbook, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, writes these words. As we recognize our oneness with infinite intelligence, we are set free from uncertainty and pain. We realize that our heart is a living center through which the love of God flows. And in recognizing that our heart is the center place where the love of God flows, we also find comfort in the words of the master teacher, Jesus the Christ. In John 14:1, where he says, let not your heart be troubled. And so I offer to you these words of comfort in these times of uncertainty and change. Let not your heart be troubled, because our heart is a living center through which the love of God flows. The 3 points that I'd like to share with you. The first one is our stories have shaped us. We are the product of our story of our lives. Our stories shape our attitudes, our beliefs, and our behaviors. Our perceptives can either limit and narrative out of our experiences. And when we ask, what is the unwritten story of my life? What am I creating? What will that narrative be? Will that new narrative be more peace, more kindness, more love, more unity? What is that unwritten narrative that is waiting within you to emerge? And point number 3, we are to acknowledge, to honor, and to have gratitude for our story. Whether the story is a happy story or a sad story, it has brought us to this point in time. And as I was preparing for this talk, as ideas were flowing through me, I was making notes here and there and writing down. Some songs would pop into my mind and I would say, oh yeah, that sounds good, that sounds good. And so yesterday, as Spirit always does, and I'm glad it did it earlier in the day, I was in the shower and this thought popped into my mind. It says, the spiritual laboratory of me. And I said, the spiritual laboratory of me. What am I to do with this? And that thought, that idea just continued to linger with me. And so I began just being in the silence. And as ideas would come to me, I would jot those ideas down. And so what emerged out of that was a new title. And I'm calling this the spiritual laboratory of me. Remember, I said at the beginning of our time together that we create the drama in our lives. As I can tell you about the chocolate covered almonds. This is a perfect segue into the laboratory, the spiritual laboratory of my life. As we are engaged in our shelter in place, or as a friend of mine says, our shelter in grace, stay at home opportunities here in California, there are certain essential things that we're allowed to go out for. And one of those is to go grocery shopping. And of course, chocolate and almonds are essential food groups. So it would make sense that chocolate covered almonds would be an essential food group that I would go shopping for. Well, I haven't had chocolate covered almonds in about 3 weeks and I've had this craving for them. And there's a store near me where I go to get them. And each time I've gone to the store, I've been there at least 3 or 4 times. There's been a line waiting to get into the store because they're limiting the number of shoppers that are in at one particular time. And so I've driven through, seen the line, drove out, said, nope, not doing this. And I would come back home. And then the craving would hit again, and I would say, okay, let me just go and see if the line is going to be a bit shorter today. Same experience, long line, not doing this, come back home. Yesterday around midday, and I have no idea what I was thinking about going there at midday, I said, let me go, because the craving was just really strong. And I get there, and the line to get into the store had formed a U in the parking lot. It was that long. So to compensate, I stopped and got a hot chocolate and came home and had my healthy, raw, unfiltered almonds. So that appeased me a little bit. And I began to work on my talk. And then as the day went on, that craving kind of hit again. So about a half an hour before the store closed last night, I went back. And the line was much shorter. I think there were maybe 5 or 6 people in the line. I go, okay, I'll stop it. I'll park and wait. And I was in the line maybe less than 5 minutes. So I now have my chocolate covered almonds, my essential food group, and I can continue on. And I'm just sharing this with you as an example of a drama that I created in my life. And so as we look at the spiritual laboratory of our lives, we recognize that the main purpose of laboratory work is to provide controlled conditions for research, experiments, and measurements to be performed. In this spiritual laboratory of need, the controlled conditions lie in our spiritual practices. This is where we get to practice what I call the big D word. D as in discipline. This is our controlled environment. And in the spiritual laboratory of me, there are experiments and research and measurements that may involve our mission. You know, what is my specific task for going into this laboratory of me and looking at my life? What am I to discover? And the word discover has its root in the Latin discoprere. And for those of you who are Latin experts, forgive my pronunciation. It's been a number of years since I've taken Latin. However, the word means to uncover, to find, to locate, to come upon. And then the third part of our visit into the laboratory is the results that are yielded from our time of research and experimenting and measuring. And so we ask, what do we do with these things? Now, keep in mind, all of these items are interconnected. No one of them stands alone. And so in the spiritual laboratory of me, the foundation for discovery is a recognition of an infinite intelligence that is whole, perfect, and complete, and is governing my life and all of life right here and right now. And the results of my discovery of me reminds me that we are more than our stories. We are co-creators of our life. We are born from infinite potential, and we live in a field of infinite possibilities. And what that means, just in regular street language, we get to do what we get to do because we have the guidance and the infinite intelligence of this living creative presence that I call God. It is born, it is a potential, it's that infinite possibility that is innate within us. When we direct the infinite potential by our unconscious and conscious use of the law of life, and the law of life is simply what Dr. Holmes describes as a law of liberty and freedom. We get to rewrite the past chapters of our life and author new chapters that will bring us more joy, more contentment, more fulfillment, more, whatever the more is that we're looking for. We come to a place of peace with our story, remembering that we have the choice. Again, our operative word here is choice, to change our perspective and to see the story from a new light. There is power in our perspective. We get to view the glass as half empty or half full or half full or half empty. However it is that you describe your glass of whatever it is, just remember that it depends on the perspective that we are coming from. We can choose a perspective that is honoring, uplifting, and conducive to creating a life free from past patterns. Our story is waiting to be written. Each moment is an opportunity for a new choice to align with that which we choose to bring into our life. Our individual stories are made up of the oral traditions that formulate those things that are expressed by word of mouth, as well as those things which remain unspoken but are nuanced by glances or code. Something is left out of a statement, and yet everyone in the group recognizes what is being spoken. Our story is also written out of the collective stories of our families and our communities. We get to set the standard for our story. I'll say that again. We get to set the standard for our story. We are not bound by anyone else's expectation that we change our life to fit what their idea of us is. We set the standard for our story. The choices we make, the stories we write, have the power to bring forth healing and good in a seemingly divisive world. And so as we create our unstory, as we develop the unwritten aspect of our lives, I offer to you this call to action. Within each of us, there lives a spiritual power. And as we learn to access and depend on the spiritual power, we let go of old ways of being. We let go of old ways of doing. We let go of old ways in which we have shown up. And we create a space to make new decisions, different choices, and to write the story of our life that we co-create with the Spirit, this infinite intelligence that lives with us. This then becomes the story of our heart. We invite Spirit to write the story on our heart, to give us a new song to sing, to create a better life in our lives and the lives of those around us. And I invite you now to join me in prayer. And I recognize that we are virtual this morning, and I want to invite the practitioners, all practitioners of truth, to just stand wherever you are in the universe as we form a circle of consciousness and embrace the loving community that is joining us via technology. We go to that place where we recognize and know that this creative infinite intelligence, the one life, the one power, the one presence that I call God is absolutely all that there is. Knowing for myself that I am one with this infinite intelligence, I know this to be the truth for everyone who is a part of this experience this morning, known as the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. And I also know that this infinite intelligence is not bound by time and space. So wherever the living presence is, each one is an individualized expression of that living presence right where they are, completely whole and complete, just as they are. And so I speak my word of gratitude and blessing for this time together. I speak my word honoring and recognizing and blessing spiritual communities, churches, faith-based organizations, where individuals are gathering in community, recognizing that there are many paths that lead to the truth. And the simple truth is God is, Spirit is, infinite creative intelligence is absolutely all that there is. I speak my word of blessing for our frontline workers who are providing services and care and their expertise and their training and their compassion and their love for us as we go through this worldwide experience of COVID-19. And I know that this has come to appear to teach us a lesson, and the individual lesson expresses itself in and through and as each and every one of us. And we take from that lesson what it is that we need. And I now declare that this COVID-19, or whatever other names it is called by, is now a no thing. It is a past history. It is eliminated, never to return. Never, never, never to be returned. It is eliminated right here and right now. And I speak a word of blessing for individuals who are experiencing transitions in their lives, however those transitions may appear, declaring that the love of God, this powerful presence that heals us in broken places, is now expressing as what the scripture describes as that balm in Gilead that heals the soul, heals the presence, and brings each one back into a place of harmony. And for this, and for so much more than I have words for, I am truly grateful. I release this prayer, I release this treatment, I release this word into that law, which simply says yes. And I know that it's done. I know that it is done well. And I just allow it to be so. And I invite us to affirm this by saying, Ashe, Amen, and so it is.